This is Duke University.
Welcome everybody to the 2011 Duke Startup Challenge Grand Finale. I'm Tim Canavan, a co-president of the Duke Startup Challenge and joint MEM MBA with the Nicholas School in Fuqua.
And I'm Vidhan Agarwal, a junior at the Pratt School of Engineering, also co-president of the Duke Startup Challenge.
Thank you.
Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we have a really great evening planned for you. Not only will you hear from an amazing alum, but also from the 7 finalists of the 2011 Duke Startup Challenge. One of whom will walk away with the grand prize of $50,000.
So like Vidhan said, we have an amazing event planned for you. Up first, you get to hear a keynote from Duke alum JB Pritzker. Right. You'll then hear 1-minute pitches from each of the 7 finalists. You, the audience, get a choice to vote for your favorite in live audience choice voting. Mr. Pritzker will award our $1,000 Speaker's Choice Prize, and then we'll reveal the overall $50,000 grand prize winner. So let's take a look back at the Startup Challenge, picking up from a year ago in this room.
Last year, we awarded Wasabi, now known as Sabi Sushi, a $25,000 grand prize. Sabi Sushi is now well on its way to launching in Boulder, Colorado.
This year's Duke Startup Challenge kicked off in the fall semester, where we had the elevator pitch competition, and 66 teams competed.
Now, Tim, I'd like to note here that that night was swept by the undergrads.
Give a round of applause to all the undergrads.
So in the spring, we kicked off with the executive summary competition, in which we had a record 110 entries across our 5 functional tracks, which are energy and environment,
IT and media,
healthcare and life sciences,
products and services,
social enterprises, and our 2 special interest tracks, the undergraduate-led track and the women's-led track. As you can see, we had healthy participation across all tracks. I'd especially like to point out the undergraduate-led teams had 43 entries, and we had 27 women-led entries. These 110 entries were then judged by 70 judges, and 52 semifinalists were selected.
After those 52 semifinalists were selected, they were judged by this group of judges 2 weeks ago, and a track winner was selected in each track. Last week, those 7 track winners pitched again to a group of 7 distinguished judges, and a winner and runner-up were determined. The name of that winner is in this envelope that Vidhan has, and is going to be revealed to you and them at the end of the night.
To recap, we started off with 110 unique executive summaries, narrowed that down to 52 semifinalists who submitted detailed business plans and made investor pitches. We again narrowed that down to 7 track finalists. And last Thursday, 1 winner was determined, and tonight that winner will be revealed.
So it is now my pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker for the night, JB Pritzker. JB Pritzker is an entrepreneur, venture capitalist, businessman, and philanthropist. He's a managing partner and co-founder of the Pritzker Group, a private investment firm that acquires companies in a wide range of sectors, and the founder of New World Ventures, an early-stage IT venture capital firm. He's also the principal owner of Hyatt Hotels Corporation and TransUnion Corporation. Mr. Pritzker is a leader in building a stronger technology sector in the Midwest. He is also an active civic leader and board member on several cultural, educational, and business organizations. He graduated with an AB in political science from Duke University and earned his JD from the Northwestern University School of Law. He is a recipient of many awards, including the Spirit of Erickson Institute Award for his work fighting child poverty. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mr. JB Pritzker.
Hear me okay? Everybody hear me okay? Good. All right, because I don't know anything about technology, so I have to work on this. Well, thank you very much, Tim and Vedon and Megan and Jonathan, I guess, who's not here, for all the hard work putting together the Duke Challenge, because how exciting is this? Nothing like this existed when I was an undergrad at Duke, and I wish it had. It is exciting for me to see the development of businesses here on campus, and of course the opportunity for me as a venture capitalist to take a look at some great companies and potentially fund them. So I hope all of you will rush me at the end with your ideas. I thought that well, first of all, I'm a little nervous because I saw, when I was asked to do this, I went online and saw that there was a speech last year by Aaron Patzer. How many of you were here for that? I can't see. So not too many, which is great because it was a great speech. And I really don't want to have to compete with that, so thank you. So all of you who saw that speech, please go to sleep or leave, and I'll continue. I wanted to talk tonight about what it is to be a great entrepreneur. I get to see this because every year so many people come to me and talk to me about their businesses, and so I get to meet lots and lots of entrepreneurs. And I consider myself an entrepreneur, having founded my own venture capital firm. But what makes a great entrepreneur? So there was a test that a venture capitalist designed to determine, who was a really good entrepreneur. And in order to test whether they were appropriate for funding and whether their startups should be funded by his venture capital firm, the venture capitalist went and tried this test out on 3 different people. One from the University of Arizona, one from MIT, and one from Duke. And so first he sat down with the one from University of Arizona, and he asked him, what is 2 and 2? And thinking hard, the University of Arizona student furrowed his brow and thought and looked up in the air and finally said, 22? The VC then went and met with the MIT student and asked him, what is 2 and 2? And the young engineer pulled out a slide rule and pulled it out and angled it just so and said, well, not taking into account any unknown variables, and assuming a coefficient of 1, you'll plainly see that the answer is somewhere between 3.999 and 4.001. The last entrepreneur was from Duke, and that's right. And the venture capitalist asked, of course, the Duke student, so what is 2 and 2? And the Duke student paused for a moment, got up out of his chair, went over to the door, closed the door, came back, sat down, looked across the table at the venture capitalist, and said, how much do you want it to be? He got the money. On average, my venture capital firm reviews about 1,000 business plans a year. And of those 1,000, we choose about 100 to meet with. And after those 100 meetings, we do deep dive due diligence on maybe 25 or 30 of them. And out of those 25 or 30 each year, we maybe fund 5. So there's about a 0.5% chance, if you come to meet with us, or frankly most venture capital firms, that you'll get funded. I hope that's not too depressing for most of you. We are picky, and we have to be picky. And the reason we have to be picky is that about half of all startups go out of business in the first 5 years. In the first 2 years. 85% of startups go out of business in the first 5 years. 85%. And of the remaining 15%, 14% of them are good businesses that just can't grow enough to a size that makes sense for a venture capital firm to invest in. So that leaves less than 1% of all startups that have the potential to provide significant returns for a venture capital firm. That's pretty long odds. And So the question, I guess, you might ask is, how do we pick the one from the 1%? Well, in my experience investing in over 50 companies, there's one factor above all that determines whether a business will succeed, and it's the character of the entrepreneur. As a venture capitalist, I've been privileged to meet with all sorts of entrepreneurs, and by listening to them and watching them and sometimes investing in them, I've learned an awful lot about characteristics that make the difference between a great entrepreneur, a pretty good entrepreneur, and someone who probably ought to go back to their day job. I've also learned some tremendous life lessons from them, and I thought I would share some of those with you today, too. I define entrepreneurism pretty much, broadly the same way that a dictionary does. And a dictionary definition reads something like one who undertakes an endeavor, who organizes, manages, and assumes risk. Starting a business isn't the only way to be an entrepreneur, by the way. Entrepreneurs are adventurers who are willing to put everything they have on the line. So one of the greatest entrepreneurs, of course, is somebody like Christopher Columbus. And there are entrepreneurs who can't imagine not being in business, somebody like Larry Ellison. So today, I hope when you leave here, you'll remember 4 lessons that I've learned from a bunch of the world's great entrepreneurs. So here's the first lesson. Be tenacious to the point of near lunacy. Now let me tell you a story about somebody that defines that. Anybody here heard of Korczak Zielkowski? I'm going to look and see if there are any hands here. Boy, I am really getting lucky tonight. So it's good news that you haven't heard of Korczak Zielkowski, because I can say almost anything I want and it'll work. Korczak Zielkowski was a sculptor in the 30s in New York. And he received a letter from the Lakota Indians in South Dakota. And the letter read something like this. The U.S. government is building an enormous monument to its great white leaders right here on our territory in South Dakota. They're building Mount Rushmore. And we have no monument to one of our greatest leaders, and we'd like you to come help us to build a great monument. The problem, of course, was the Lakota Indians had no money, and they had no backing, where Mount Rushmore was built with the U.S. government's money and 400 engineers and an awful lot of pride by people around the country who supported the endeavor. Nevertheless, the sculptor, Korczak Zielkowski, packed up everything, went to, the middle of nowhere in South Dakota. He formed a model of what he thought a really fabulous monument would be to the Lakota's great warrior chief. Anybody know who it is? Crazy Horse. He showed that to the Lakota Indians, and they loved it. And he had big plans. So he went searching for a mountain that would be appropriate on which to build this great monument. And he found one. And he designed the entire endeavor to fit this mountain. The mountain and the statue itself, 10 times the size of Mount Rushmore. 10 times. It is a statue. Have you ever seen it? It's Crazy Horse wearing his headdress, and he's got his arm out pointing. He's riding a horse, wearing full gear, pointing like this. Just to give you an idea, Mount Rushmore fits like this under his arm. 10 times the size of Mount Rushmore. And he had a few dollars. And he had a box of dynamite. And that was it. And so he went to work. And he began blasting away at the mountain. And in his 40s and in the 40s, he blasted away at the mountain. And in the 50s, he blasted away at the mountain. And by the way, he convinced his assistant from New York to move out there. Young woman, him, the young woman, no one else. They got married. They had children, little workers. And they kept blasting away at the mountain. And they blasted away into the 50s and the 60s. because, eventually you're going to blast away and get down to something you can chisel and get the face of Crazy Horse and begin to really get the shape. So they blasted away in the 60s and the 70s and into the 80s. And then one day, Korczak died. Thank you very much. And so, and his wife carried on. But you kind of have to ask yourself, at what point did Korczak, in his own 60s and 70s, as he was getting older and older and blasting away at the mountain, at some point or another he realized, I'm not going to finish this in my lifetime. Why did Korczak keep blasting away at the mountain? Why? What was it? Why? He blasted away at the mountain because he knew that he had a mission, and that if he believed in it enough, if he fought day in, day out to carry out the mission, if he provided a model for others, for his wife, for his children, maybe even others, that they might take up the mission. He put everything into it, and he died, and his wife took it up, and his children took it up, and you know what? You now can see the chiseled face of Crazy Horse. That monument, I was just there. Ruth Zilkowski is 90 now herself, and I said to her, so when is this going to be done? You're really working, your whole life you've spent here now, your husband, now your life, and your kids are here. When is this going to be done? She said, we're going to finish in 30 years. They're still at it, and they will finish it. And what's the moral of that story? Well, be tenacious to the point of near lunacy. They will finish that project, unbelievably so, after 2, maybe 3 generations, I suppose now. Second lesson, don't let your setbacks and the cynics define you. Let your reaction do the talking. In 1903, the New York Times wrote an editorial that questioned the intelligence of the Wright brothers, who were trying to invent a machine heavier than air that would fly. And it said in the editorial, it simply defies the law of physics. Well, 1 week later, of course, the Wright brothers did take their famous flight. And if you study history, you'll find that all stories of great success are also stories of great triumph over adversity and over cynics. But often we overlook the setbacks, and we only see the end success. We think the person got lucky, right? And you hear people say things like, he or she must have been in the right place at the right time. Or maybe they were just really smart or talented or well-connected. But that's, frankly, those are explanations, but they're not ultimately the reason. It might have been a little bit of each of those things, but what ultimately led to the success of many endeavors was a refusal to allow their setbacks and their failures to define them. Einstein didn't speak until he was around 4, and he didn't read until he was around 7. If you're a parent, somebody here is, it's nerve-wracking if your child doesn't start speaking, by 2 or 2.5 or 3, imagine 4. Didn't read till he was 7, and he caused his teachers and, frankly, his parents to think that he was, mentally handicapped, that he was slow or antisocial, and eventually he was expelled from school. And he was refused admittance to the Zurich Polytechnical School, which is where they wanted him to go. So you could say he had a slower start than his childhood peers, but you would all agree that he caught up pretty well. And Albert Einstein, of course, is synonymous with genius now. So one day, a partially deaf 4-year-old kid came home with a note in his pocket, and his parents pulled it out, and it said, "Your little Tommy is too stupid to learn. We can't have him at our school." And his mother decided to teach him herself. Partially deaf and with only 3 months of formal schooling, Tommy grew up to be Thomas. and Thomas Edison went on to fail approximately 10,000 times before he succeeded at inventing the light bulb. Of course, you may feel like you have nothing in common with Edison or Einstein, but that isn't true. You all do. They weren't born with some superhuman-like resilience that shielded them from disappointment, self-doubt, or misgivings. Well, maybe you're superhuman. You are at Duke. They each had to wage their own inner battles, their parents too, by the way. Their battle with the fear of failure as they worked hard to overcome the external obstacles that lined their path to success. What distinguishes people is that, these people in particular, is that they did not become a victim of their failures. When they fell down, they got back up again. And when people told them that it couldn't be done, they refused to buy into their lack of belief. I love there's a line in an old song that probably only 17 people in the room know, that says something like, pick yourself up, brush yourself off, and start all over again. There are things that you and only you, each of you, can do. Things that will never be done if you don't do them. They'll never be done by anybody if you don't do them. But any worthwhile accomplishment is going to call on you to trust in yourself. In fact, to trust in yourself more fully, to risk making mistakes and forgive yourself when you do, and to press on when things get really tough, and to refuse to allow your setbacks to define you. So how you choose to interpret your failures will either move you forward in life or hold you back. Every mistake, and I really mean this, and I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm a venture capitalist, and I see entrepreneurs in front of me all the time trying to gloss over the mistakes that they've made or the failures that they've had. Don't do it. Every mistake is a lesson in what not to do. Every mistake is a lesson in what not to do. Remember. So every setback is an opportunity to dig deeper into yourself, to access resources you didn't know you had, and to acquire wisdom that you could not gain in any other way. Don't let your setbacks or the cynics define you. Let your reactions do the talking. The third lesson that I want to impart to you is something that I learned in my own household, and that is find your own path. My dad grew up in Chicago, the last of three boys in a family where they were sort of near geniuses, everybody else in his family. His dad was a successful real estate entrepreneur, a developer. His next older brother became a renowned CEO industrialist, and his oldest brother became one of the world's great investors. So here he was, the youngest. And he used to tell people how frustrating it was that even though he went to Harvard and he graduated with honors, that his two older brothers had graduated with high honors. And he just couldn't stand out in that crowd. So when my dad got out of graduate school at age 25, he went to work for his dad and his brothers in the family business. And he was immediately miserable. He was the low man on the totem pole, as you could imagine, and he got all the worst jobs. So after about a year, his oldest brother, Jay, came into the office one day, and he said that he had found a small motel out in California near the airport. And he was going to buy it, except that he didn't have anybody to run the motel. And so they'd have to search for somebody to run this motel. And my dad, who was 25, turning 26, knew nothing about motel operations, raised his hand and said, I'll go, just to get out, really, but knowing that he needed to go find his own path. And so he did. He got up, and he loved his family dearly, but he knew that he wasn't going to reach his own potential unless he left and found his own way. So he volunteered to run the motel, and he left the comfort of his hometown in Chicago, and he struck out on his own. And when he got there, he found out that he was pretty good at the hospitality business. So he bought a second motel, and then a third one, and a fourth one, and over 13 years, he became and built the fastest growing hotel chain in America. And people often like to say that I was talking about this earlier, I think, with Kimberly. People often like to say that they planned everything in their life. Once they've hit success, you sort of rewrite your history and say, well, I knew I was going to get here. But we all know that's not true. You make mistakes, you stumble, you choose roads. If anybody's seen the movie Sliding Doors, you choose doors to go through, and they change your life. Along the way, my father building motels next to airports. Somebody came to him, and he was successfully building these motor lodges next to airports and growing. Somebody came to him and said, there's this empty, bankrupt, big monstrosity of a hotel that's been abandoned in Atlanta, Georgia. And no one wants it, and would you be interested in it? That's a real sales job. And I'm sure he was the 73rd person to look at this monstrosity. It was a big, old, empty thing in Atlanta. Actually, it was a big, new, empty thing. They'd gone bankrupt in building it. And what was it? It was a big atrium lobby hotel, first one ever. And nobody wanted this because people would walk into the lobby of the construction project, and they'd say, well, fill the space with rooms, and maybe we can talk. But meanwhile, big empty space that goes all the way up, and then rooms on the outside seemed like a big waste to everybody. But my father bet the entire motor lodge company on this project, and took the chance. In fact, on the opening day of it, put everything on it. And this was by the way, they had gone public with this little motor lodge company, bet everything on this thing. And on the opening day, my father couldn't go because he was too nervous. He didn't know what was going to happen with this project. So he got on a plane from Atlanta the night before and flew back to San Francisco and didn't sleep and waited for the phone to ring so someone would tell him how it was going. And someone called and said, you're not going to believe it, but there's a line 6 blocks long to get in. And they had to bring in the state police to keep the crowds parted enough so that guests could get to the elevators to get to their rooms. For 12 years, it was the most successful hotel in the world. It was the Hyatt Regency Atlanta, and the first atrium lobby hotel. So my dad passed away in 1972, and he was only 39 years old. But he built one of the world's great brand names in hospitality, and he embodies the lesson, find your own path. The final lesson I want to talk about is that leadership matters. Anybody know the Battle of Agincourt? Hopefully some of you are English majors or read your Shakespeare. But the Battle of Agincourt took place in 1415, and it dealt a crippling blow to the French in the 100 Years' War. It was famous for two things, really. First, it was a triumph by a relatively small band of 6,000 British infantrymen against an overwhelming force of 36,000 French troops. 6,000 against 36,000. Second, the Battle of Agincourt is known, of course, for its portrayal in Shakespeare's Henry V, which remains one of the best dramatic interpretations of what leadership means. And the story goes like this. The King Henry and his army facing the overwhelming force of a heavily armored, highly skilled group of French knights, and the morale in his troops, as you can imagine, was very, very low. The troops felt that they were sure to lose the battle. So King Henry, rising to the occasion, spoke these words of encouragement that rallied the English troops and carried them to an unlikely victory. This story shall the good man teach his son, and Crispin Crispian shall never go by, but from this day to the ending of the world that we in it shall be remembered. We few, we happy few, we band of brothers. For he today that sheds his blood with me shall be my brother. Be he never so vile, this day shall gentle his condition. And gentlemen in England now abed shall think themselves accursed that they were not here, and hold their manhoods cheap, whilst any speaks that fought with us on St. Crispin's Day. So to all of you budding entrepreneurs in the audience, I would tell you, be tenacious to the point of near lunacy. Don't let your setbacks or the cynics define you. Let your reaction to them define you. Find your own path. And remember that leadership matters. We few. We happy few. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Pritzker. This is a small token of our appreciation.
Thank you. I'll try to remember to turn my microphone off when I go to the restroom.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for us to introduce to you the 7 finalists of the 2011 Duke Startup Challenge. In the order they will be pitching to you tonight, from the undergraduate track, 70 Sesame.
From the energy and environment track, high tower energy storage.
From the healthcare and life sciences track, Medici Medical Technologies.
From the IT and media track, Sidewalk.
From the products and services track, Shelf Relief.
From the social track, Acción Emprendedora USA.
And from the women's track, eClean.
These teams have worked incredibly hard to get here. They've done an enormous amount of work outside of the Startup Challenge, but just in the Startup Challenge alone, they've pitched at least 3 times, written 2-page executive summaries, 15-page business plans, and been reviewed by at least 20 judges each. They're now each going to give you 1-minute pitches on their startup, so you can get a feel for their business ideas. So how this is going to work is that they're each going to come up, and they have 1 minute of time. After 1 minute, a stop sign will appear, and you'll all say, stop. All right, so without further ado, I'd like to welcome our first startup, 70 Sesame.
Hi, everyone. Okay, hello. Okay. I'm Stephanie, and I'm the co-founder of 70 Sesame. In real-life social networks, people don't just have one group of friends. Instead, we have multiple independent groups of friends. In China, group relationships are especially important for asking for advice and for giving and receiving favors. Yet, existing services don't effectively serve the needs of social groups. That's where 70 Sesame comes in. 70 Sesame is a group, mobile, social service for the over 800 million cell phone users in China. Through our service, users can have private group chats on their cell phones, make group decisions around social plans, poll groups for advice, and thank each other with virtual gifts. We'll make money by inserting coupons when users recommend products and services to each other. We have a working prototype, top engineering talent from Duke, and an advisor with extensive experience in the Chinese mobile services industry. 70 Sesame. Thank you.
Great job, 70 Sesame. Up next is high tower energy storage.
Well, thanks for having us. Thanks to Mr. Pritzker for his address. We're still excited to be part of the Duke Startup Challenge. I'm Trip Hyde, this is Will Fowderhounds, and that's Matt Kaufman. We're here tonight to tell you about high tower energy storage, which converts out-of-service water towers into energy storage solutions, essentially batteries. This lowers the cost of electricity, it helps integrate renewables, and it helps with grid reliability. So basically, we have a low-cost, highly efficient, investor-friendly solution for a $1.5 billion and growing energy storage market. The high tower system works by running water from the top of the water tower down through a generator to generate electricity, essentially discharging our water battery. And then to recharge that battery, we pump water back up to the top of the tower. High tower builds on proven pumped hydro technology, which has been around for 100 years. Not only does this help with carbon abatement in today's energy grid, but it also helps meet the needs of a $1.5 billion growing energy market.
So up next is Medici Medical Technologies.
$2 billion per year. That's what our country spends on adult diapers, more than we spend on the infant diaper market. For 11 million American women who suffer from stress urinary incontinence, every time they laugh, cough, sneeze, they may leak. Many of them won't go to dinner with their friends, to a kid's soccer game, anywhere where the inability to control their bladder may lead to ridicule and embarrassment. I'm Jeff Kovic, co-founder of Medici, and we're working with urogynecologists at Duke and Harvard on technology out of Stanford, a traditional self-catheter with a series of physiologically controlled valves inside. We've developed real-size prototypes that deliver the convenience and control that no current solution offers. 300,000 women have already sought and failed all available treatments, spending $800 annually, representing an initial market of $240 million of proven customers. Medici has patients ready to use the device, physicians ready to prescribe it, and manufacturers ready to produce it. This money will help us deliver a better solution than diapers.
Great job. Up next is Sidewalk.
Hi, I'm Brian. I'm the co-founder of Sidewalk. We help college students and the businesses that serve them spend wiser. Now, you've all heard of Groupon, Living Social, so let me tell you why we're different. We give you 5 to 10 great deals a day like this one instead of just one. We give them to you at the places you love, not chiropractors or skydiving schools. And we give them to you close, on campus, off campus, not in Cary, not in Raleigh. And all you have to do is take this, show your phone to the merchant, and you'll get the deal. This is working really well. We just came out of our beta test. We already have 4 paying customers. We've grown to 1,200 users in just 10 weeks. And our goal is to make sure college students everywhere are taking out their phone, checking Sidewalk before they eat or drink. Come tonight, win or lose, we're throwing a party at Olivia's. $1 Miller Lights. Spend wiser with us. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, mysidewalkdeals.com to get our emails. Thank you very much.
Great job. So up next is Shelf Relief.
How many of you are Duke students? Raise your hands. All right. Today, we're not here for us. We are here for you. We all know that textbooks are overpriced. And when you try and sell them back, they pay you in $1 bills. Shelf Relief began when we realized that every university is a niche, where every student needs the books that other students have. So why not connect them? And why isn't that already happening? We found that the main reasons were that it's a hassle to find this person, get cash to pay for the book, and do it over and over again. Shelf Relief lets their students post their books online. They can pay online through PayPal, receive their payment online, and you don't need to pay shipping ever again. In addition, we also have a rating system that helps discern sellers, and our price guide helps our customers price their books intelligently to sell faster. Amazon transaction fees are much higher than ours, and you can forget about tracking your package. Shelf Relief has successfully launched at Duke with 1,000 active users. We are now going to 10 more universities this week, and we're just going to keep going. Shelf Relief is going to help students save time, money, and energy. Want to check it out? Join Shelf Relief right now. Thank you.
Great job, Shelf Relief. Up next is Acción Emprendedora USA.
Hello, everybody. I am the co-founder of Acción Emprendedora in Chile, and now I'm going to bring you the project that we are planning to do here in the United States. huge market opportunity there is here in the United States. There's more than 21,000 micro-entrepreneurs in North Carolina. However, micro-entrepreneurs face a lot of challenge. A study has shown that entrepreneurs have a very huge problem to succeed in their businesses. We know how to do it. Acción Emprendedora Chile has proven a huge experience, bringing great results and also great partnerships. How we're going to do it? We want to provide training, service and business opportunities. We expect to have a great financial result and also a huge impact. What do we want to do with We Want the Prize? We want to hire executive director, legal Acción Emprendedora here, and also we have started. We have outside here a huge amount of need. We have the knowledge, the people, and the commitment and the determination to do it.
Great job. Great job. So next and last, we have eClean.
Hospital-acquired infections affect 2 million people in the US and kill nearly 100,000 every year. The CDC estimates that tens of thousands of these patients could have been saved if hospital employees had merely complied with the proper hand-washing protocols. Nationally, compliance is under 40%. Medicare no longer pays for the cost of these infections, so it is a burden the hospital administrators feel directly. A mere 5% increase in compliance would save hospitals $1,000 per bed annually. My name is Jessica Lil, and I represent eClean, the hand hygiene compliance monitoring solution. We can reach a market of $150 million a year and become cash positive in under 3 years with a $6 million investment. We will provide hospital administrators with the means to accurately monitor compliance, saving hospitals money and patient lives.
Thank you very much to all the teams. It's amazing to see these awesome startups coming out of Duke. Let's give them all another round of applause. So now you, the audience, get a chance to vote for your favorite in audience choice voting, and Vedana is going to explain how that works.
So if you could all pull out your cell phones so that you can participate through text message. So what you're going to have to do is text to the number 37607, the team code of the team that you have to vote for. So we'll show you the team codes on the next slide. And voting will commence once we switch slides. We're ready.
Congratulations, Medici Medical Technologies. So we are now going to hold the iPad raffle. When you walked in or out in the Fox Center, you should have picked up a ticket. And if we could have the Blue Devil.
The Blue Devil is going to pick out a ticket now. Ticket number is 981640. 981. Well done. How are you?
We'll come get you.
Yeah.
So I'd now like to invite JB Pritzker back onto the stage. He's going to give a little bit of feedback on all the 7 pitches, and then announce his Speaker's Choice, who gets the $1,000 Speaker's Choice prize.
Is this one working, or should I lean into you? I'll just lean into you.
We can turn that one on for you.
Yeah, okay, good. All right. Can you hear me okay? Boy, what an impression.
All right. Well, hopefully we're back in business.
Before we announce the winner of the $50,000 grand prize, there are a few people we would really like to recognize. First, the students. It takes a lot of time and effort to put a competition of up the scale. It takes a lot lot of time and effort to put a competition of this scale up. And we really, really appreciate all of your efforts. So all the students on the organizing team, if you could please stand up.
We'd also like to say a big thank you to our faculty advisor, Howie Reed. He's a great supporter of entrepreneurship at Duke. And we'd like to introduce you the presidents of the Startup Challenge for next year. They are JB Pritzker, first year MBA. And we'd like to say a thank you to our financial sponsors, without whom this would not be possible. They are A Small Orange,
The Chronicle,
GM,
Hutchison Law Group,
Eye Contact,
Idea Fund Partners,
InterSouth Partners,
Intuit,
Northbridge Growth Equity Venture Partners,
Palo Alto Software,
Smith Anderson,
and Wyrick Robbins.
We'd also like to say a special thank you to two of our donors, Melissa Bernstein and Rich Lee. Specifically, Mr. Lee's donation allowed us to double our grand prize to $50,000. So can we have all the 7 finalists come line down up on the stage, please? Great job, everybody. It's really amazing. So it's now time to reveal the runner-up of the 2011 Duke Startup Challenge.
Last Thursday, even after thorough deliberation, it was still a very, very hard decision for the judges. But the runner-up of the 2011 Duke Startup Challenge is 70 Sesame.
Step forward. So before we announce the overall winner, I just want to let everybody know that unless you're graduating this year or you're one of the many alums here visiting us for the weekend, this could be you up on stage next year. Keep thinking about problems that need to be solved and entrepreneurial ways to solve them. Visit our website at www.dukestartupchallenge.org so you can get our mailing list, and we'll keep you in the loop for all next year's important dates and how to compete. So without further ado, the overall winner of the 2011 Duke Startup Challenge will be walking away with the $50,000 grand prize, a $2,500 startup legal package, free space in DoHatch, a copy of QuickBooks Pro, and web hosting from A Small Orange is
Hightower Energy.
Congratulations, Hightower. Come on up for a photo. I want to say a big congratulations to all the teams who all did an amazing job, and thank you to all of you for coming out. Your support of entrepreneurship at Duke is really important to us. Thank you very much, and have a great night.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Produced by Duke University, online at duke.edu.